procedure of journal bearings. So before going for the design procedure, first we understand that how the journal bearing works and how the complete hydrodynamic lubrication has been developed. So if we consider the bearing and the shaft, this outer surface is the bearing, which you can see, and this central uh, portion is known as shaft. Okay, the shaft is carrying the load. When the shaft is stationary and the oil is filled between the space due to the clearance between the shaft and the journal. The the vacant space between the journal and the bearing is filled with the oil. When the shaft is stationary, what will happen? The shaft, due to the load on the shaft, it will rest over the bearing surface, and there will be a metal to metal contact. Okay. As soon as the shaft starts moving, the shaft shifted towards the direction of motion. And what happened? The oil in between the shaft and the journal surface get pressurized and it is moved towards the other direction, like you can see here. Okay. So this pressurized oil will try to move and fill up in this vacant area. And when the shaft further moves, the oil at high pressure will all further move towards this uh, vacant area. And what will happen? The shaft will lift up from its position, and a film of lubricant has been developed between the shaft and the bearing surface. Okay. Generally, we call shaft, which is enclosed by the bearing or which is covered by the bearing, the portion of that the shaft is known as journal. So when we will talk about the further about the journal bearing, we will call the portion of the shaft that is under the bearing as a journal. So we can see that the journal will be lifted up due to the motion of this pressurized oil, and this pressure will have the distribution like this. If you see, when this oil will move towards this direction, what will happen? There will be a maximum pressure position where the minimum oil film thickness will be developed. So if you draw the pressure profile of the lubricant in between the journal and the bearing, then we will have the pressure profile on the cross section of the journal. We will have the pressure profile like that. If we see the pressure profile in the longitudinal direction of the journal, we will have the maximum pressure at the center of the bearing. Okay, whatever is the length, we will have the maximum pressure at the center of the bearing. Okay, so in both the cases, the pressure profile is parabolic, but in case of in the direction of longitudinal direction, this parabola is symmetric, but in this direction the parabola is slightly displaced towards the uh, right. Okay, so we will have the maximum pressure at the point where the your minimum oil film thickness will be developed. Okay, because where is the pressure will be maximum, there will be a minimum gap. So at the point of maximum pressure, the minimum oil thickness has been developed. Okay, in picture of this basic knowledge of hydrodynamic lubrication, we can draw the friction versus bearing characteristic number graph. If you see, what are the important parameter to design the general bearing, that the load which we have to, which the shaft has to carry and bearing has to bear, this load is important. Okay, and finally this load, what this load will be do, this load will exert the pressure over the bearing, so that the pressure which will be sustained by the bearing, that is important. And how we can calculate that pressure? That pressure can be calculated as load over the shaft divided by projected area of the bearing. And what will the projected area of the bearing? If this L is the length of the bearing and D is the diameter of the journal, then projected area will be L into D. So one thing is pressure is important. Second thing, as we know that this lifting of shaft or the development of the film will be due to the viscosity of the lubricant oil. So the viscosity of the oil is equally important. And if we see here at the rest, there is a metal to metal contact. The oil film will develop only when the journal starts rotating. That means the speed is also play an important role for development of the oil film, which will carry the radial load in case of journal bearing. Okay. Now the dimensionless number, that is called Zn by P, where Z is the dynamic viscosity of the oil and N is the uh, rotational speed in RPM of the journal, and P is the pressure sustained by the bearing. That is load divided by projected area of the bearing. Okay, so this bearing characteristic number is very important because it's contain all the parameters which are very much important for designing the your journal bearing. And what is the design criteria for the bearing? The design criteria of the bearing is the friction should be minimum and there should be no metal to metal contact. If there will be a metal to metal contact, what will happen? The wearing of bearing surface will be very fast and bearing gets fail. So we need to keep our friction value at the lowest level. At the same time, we don't want that the metal to metal contact take place. Okay, so if we draw a graph between coefficient of friction and bearing characteristic number, this Zn by P is known as bearing characteristic number. So at the starting point, that means either the shaft is at stationary condition or rotating at very slow speed, the friction will be maximum. As the your journal attains some speed, the friction starts reducing and it reduced to some extent, and then when the sufficient amount of thickness of oil film has been developed, then it again starts increasing. Why this friction is increasing? If you see this friction is increasing due to the uh, fluid friction. As we know, we need a viscous fluid, and when the we have studied it in the fluid mechanics that when the two plates are one plate is sliding over another plate and the oil is in between, then there will be a friction. Okay, due to the Newtonian law, Newtonian fluid. Okay, so there will be some fluid friction, and when the sufficient amount of fluid film has been developed, then there will be a friction in between the layers of the fluid. That's why this slight increase beyond point, this point we can see. Now if we correlate this friction versus Zn by P graph with the regimes of the hydrodynamic lubrication, we can understand this starting portion in which the friction value is very high. This starting portion is known as boundary lubrication, and in this portion the metal to metal contact is there in between the shaft and the pinion, or in between the shaft and the uh, bearing. As the speed increases, or you can say that this bearing characteristic number increases, the friction start reducing, and it reduce up to a certain point. At the point at which the friction value is minimum, the corresponding value of bearing characteristic number is known as bearing modulus. And we don't want to run our bearing at this value. We always want to run our bearing for above the bearing modulus. That means we want to run our bearing for the characteristic number which is higher than the bearing modulus. Because what is the bearing modulus? Bearing modulus is the value of bearing characteristic number corresponding to minimum friction possible for the particular application. Okay, so this bearing characteristic number is very important. If we see, when the friction start reducing and when again it start increasing, the portion of that part of the motion of the shaft is known as partial lubrication. That means although the most of the time the metal to metal contact has been removed from in between the journal and the bearing, but there are some places where the metal to metal contact is taking place. That means the fluid film has not been developed fully in between the bearing and the journal. So when again the friction has started increasing, that means there is a complete development of fluid film and there is only a fluid friction. And there will, when the complete development of the fluid film has been developed, then that means there is no metal to metal contact. And if there is no metal to metal contact and thick film has been developed in between the bearing and then the journal, then we say the thick film hydrodynamic lubrication or condition of complete hydrodynamic lubrication. Okay, and we always want to run our bearing in the condition of completely developed hydrodynamic lubrication. Why it is so? Because we never want that there is a metal to metal contact. If we run our bearing in between this region for the value of the bearing characteristic number in this region, then what will happen? There is a chance of metal to metal contact, and if there is a metal to metal contact, then the bearing may get fail. Okay, so if we see what we want our bearing is to be run under the completely hydrodynamic lubrication condition. And secondly, we don't want the heat to be accumulated at the surface of the bearing. If heat is accumulated at the surface of the bearing, then what will happen? The lubricant will lose its lubricating property, and what will happen? There is a breakage of fluid film due to the deterioration in lubrication property of lubricant. And what will happen? As the fluid film breaks, the metal to metal contact take place, and at very high speed suddenly the bearing will fail and the machine will be under shutdown. Okay, so heat is also an important criteria when we are designing the journal bearing. So there are two criteria on which we work. First, we see that our bearing should work under the condition of completely developed hydrodynamic lubrication, and as we know that there must be a friction because there is a sliding motion, there must be some power loss, and that power loss will be in terms of heat generation, and that heat has to be dissipated. So we have to design the bearing in such a manner that all the heat should be removed from whichever heat is generated at the surface of the bearing. It should be removed from that. Okay, either by artificial manner or by lubrication or by the construction of the bearing. Okay, so now in this background we will start the designing of journal bearing. So first thing what we have to do, we have to find the bearing dimensions. In general, the bare minimum requirement which is required to design a bearing or journal bearing is the load, rotational speed at which the load is carrying by the shaft, and further one thing is more is important, that either the diameter of the journal is known, or the length of the bearing is known, or the diameter of bearing is known. So these three are the bare minimum requirement which are required to design a bearing. Sometimes in the design problem the application is also known, or in the industrial bearing design it is always the application is known. But when we do our design problem in the academics, sometime in the problem the application is not known. If the problem is so first step is to find out the dimension of bearing. So what we'll do, we determine the L by D ratio. L by D ratio means the length of the bearing, and D is what? Diameter of the journal. So this ratio is called L by D ratio. So to find out this L by D ratio, we take the help of design data book. And if the application is known or it is given in the problem, then we can have the L by D ratio. We can choose the L by D ratio for the particular application and for the particular purpose from our design data book. And this is given in your design data book, that is machine design data book written by Reddy and Mahadevan. Okay, so you can take the value of L by D ratio as per the application and the particular purpose from the table number 15.7, page number 66. Here is the table number 15.7 of the design data book written by Reddy and Mahadevan. So there in the first column there are so many applications. In the second column, in those particular application at the particular place, which bearing we are designing for which application, these are the written in the second column. Next is the maximum pressure. What should be the maximum pressure that can be bear by the bearing for that particular application is also given. The range is given. The viscosity of oil, the requirement of the viscosity of oil is also mentioned in this for the particular application. This is the minimum Zn by P. That means this is the minimum value of bearing characteristic number, which is on which the that particular bearing, the particular bearing for the particular application is designed. This minimum value means this minimum value is higher than the bearing modulus. That means the value of the bearing characteristic number for which the friction is minimum, that is called bearing modulus. That means this minimum value is higher than that bearing modulus, because as I have told you that we never want our bearing to run at a bearing modulus value or the less than the bearing modulus value. Because if we are running our bearing less than or at the point of bearing modulus value, then what will happen? If there is any change in the bearing characteristic number or the condition of the bearing which reduces the bearing characteristic number, what will happen? We will end up in the partial lubrication condition, and what will happen? There may be a chances of metal to metal contact. And we always want, when we are defining the minimum value for the bearing characteristic number for particular application, that is equal to the 3 times of the bearing modulus. That means this Zn by P is equal to the 3 times of the bearing modulus. Okay, then there is a radial clearance. This radial clearance is nothing but C is what? The difference between the radius of the bearing minus radius of the journal, and this R is the radius of the journal. So clearance ratio is the radial clearance ratio is difference between the radius of bearing and the journal divided by radius of the journal, and this L by D ratio is the length of the bearing divided by diameter of the journal. So in this step, what we have to do, we have to choose the correct L by D ratio for the particular application and the particular bearing from this table, if the application is known to us. If the application is known to us. So first step is to find out or choose the correct L by D ratio from the design data book. If the application is not given in your problem, then what we will do? We generally take L by D ratio is equal to 1. Okay, and we know that if the L by D ratio is 1 or less than 1, it is called short bearing, and if L by D ratio is greater than 1, it is called long bearing. Okay, so we consider the boundary condition for the first assumption that L by D ratio is equal to 1. Okay, second step is to find out the pressure that will be created by the bearing, that has to be sustained by the bearing. So pressure will be equal to the radial load over the bearing divided by projected area of the bearing, that is L into D. Mind it, here we always find out the pressure in megapascal, because whatever the calculation we are doing, we are taking in each and every point the pressure in the megapascal. So we have to calculate the pressure into megapascal. For that, we take the load in terms of Newton and L and D in terms of mm. So Newton per mm square is equal to megapascal. Okay, then next step is to find out the correct oil, because if the oil is not having that much of viscosity that can sustain that much of pressure, so what will happen? The fluid will not develop, or if it is somehow it will be developed, it will be broken out when the full load come over the journal. Okay, so for selecting the correct oil, what we'll do, first we will find out the appropriate oil. First we will find out the appropriate oil for the particular application, and that application will be given in your problem. So as per the application, we can find out the correct oil from the design data book. Okay, and if the application in your problem is not given, we generally take the oil SAE10, and application is given, we can take the oil from our design data book, and the value of this the oil selection can be done from this table 15.1, that is on the page number 363, and you can have different oils for the different application. Here two things are important. One thing is application, and other thing is the specific gravity which is given in your data book. This specific gravity which is given in your data book is at 15 degree centigrade. Mind it, this whatever is this specific gravity given in this data book is at the 15 degree centigrade, but we it is very rare that we are running our bearing at 15 degree centigrade. Generally the bearing runs at a higher speed, and the operating temperature ranges between 26 degree to 60 degree in normal condition, and for the high temperature condition it goes up to the 85 degree centigrade. So we have to convert the specific gravity at the operating temperature. And another thing which you can see here, there are number which is given in the alphabet. This number is corresponding to the oil, and these number will be used further for finding out the viscosity of the oil, that particular oil. So if the application is given, we will go from as per the application. If the application is not given, we will consider the SAE10, that is the B number. Okay, and the specific gravity at 15 degree is 0.8894. Okay, so in the third step, what we have to do, we have to select the particular oil for the particular application. If the operating temperature is not given, we assume it in between 26.5 degree to 60 degree. And for the higher temperature application, like in installation of a steam turbine, then we will go up to the 82 degree centigrade. But in normal condition, we take the value of operating temperature is 50 degree. If the operating temperature is not given in your problem, then we will take it as 50 degree. Okay. Then next step is to we have to find out the specific gravity of the oil at a particular operating temperature. We can find out the specific gravity at the operating temperature from the equation number 15.1F, which is given on page number 350. So we have find out the specific gravity in the third step. We will use that specific gravity here, and this T0 minus 15 is T0 is the T degree is the operating temperature. By putting the operating temperature, you can find out the specific gravity at operating temperature. Okay, this equation is given in your data book at page number 350, equation number 15.5. You can use this equation and find out the specific gravity. The next step is to find out the viscosity, dynamic viscosity of the oil. Dynamic viscosity of oil. Dynamic viscosity of oil. So to find out the dynamic viscosity of oil, what we have to do, we will find out the dynamic viscosity in 3 steps. And what are those 3 steps? In our design data book, we are having a graph which is in between the kinematic viscosity of the oil and the kinematic viscosity of the oil and the operating temperature. Okay, so from that graph we can easily find out the kinematic viscosity, and if the kinematic viscosity is known, we can easily find out the dynamic viscosity, because dynamic viscosity is nothing but it is the density multiplied by the kinematic viscosity. So from the figure number 15.3 on page number 353, we are having the graphs of different oils, that is between the kinematic viscosity and the temperature. So we have to find out the kinematic viscosity in terms of centistoke from that graph. We have to find out the kinematic viscosity in centistokes, and we will convert this kinematic viscosity in meter square per second, and then the kinematic viscosity calculated in meter square per second will be multiplied by the density of the oil at an operating temperature. We will have the dynamic viscosity. So I'll show you the graph from which we have to find out from which we have to find out the kinematic viscosity. So here is a graph. Here are the numbers which we have seen in the table number 15.1, where the several oils are given. There are the numbers A, B, C, D, E, F, and these are the same number which were given in this table number 15.1. So whatever oil we have selected here, we can go and select that graph. Suppose we are selecting the SAE 10 and our operating temperature is 50. So what we will do? We will go as per the graph. We have to find out the kinematic viscosity in centistoke. So we will go on the right hand y-axis, and we are having the temperature in degree centigrade. So we'll go on the x-axis, which is at the upper side of the graph. So we will go on the 50 degree and go on the B graph. We will have this point, and at this point the viscosity is nearly about 25 or in between 20 and 30 centistokes. So we will note down the kinematic viscosity in centistokes, and then we will convert it into meter square per second by multiplying by 10 to the power minus 6. then the centistrokes kinematic viscosity will be converted into the kinematic viscosity in meter square per second. Then further we will multiply it with the density of the oil. Mind it, what we have calculated in step number 4, that is the specific gravity, and the density is equal to the specific gravity multiplied by the specific gravity multiplied by the your density of water. And what is the density of water? Density of water is the 10 to power 3. So density of oil at the operating temperature will be specific gravity at operating temperature multiplied by 10 to power 3. So we will have the value of dynamic viscosity. The same formula is given in your data book, that is in the 15.1e, but there is a mistake in this formula, that they have considered this rho as a density while we have calculated rho as specific gravity. So if you are using this formula, you have to multiply by 10 to power 3. Okay, so now we are having the dynamic viscosity Z. We are having rotational speed in RPM, that will be given in the, there is a one of the variable which is bare minimum requirement for designing the bearing. We are having pressure, we have calculated in the second step. We are having viscosity, which we have calculated in fifth step. So we are now in the condition to find out the bearing characteristic number, or the operating bearing characteristic number, that is Zn by P. This same bearing characteristic number is also used for finding out the Sommerfeld number, which we will talk in the next lecture. Okay, so this Zn by P is to be calculated, that is called bearing characteristic number. Okay, and from here we will having the bearing characteristic number in the operating condition. Now next step is to find out the bearing modulus. If the application is given in the problem, then what will we do? We will go again to the table number 15.7 and go as per the application and the particular bearing, and see what is the minimum value of bearing this minimum Zn by P, and we will note down this minimum Zn by P. This minimum Zn by P, I have told you earlier that this minimum Zn by P is nothing but it is the 3 times of the bearing modulus. So we will find out this value 3C is equal to Zn by P, which is minimum Zn by P from the table number 15.7. So we are able to find out the bearing modulus for your particular bearing. Now we have to check the operating Zn by P. That means the operating bearing characteristic number is greater than the bearing modulus or less than the bearing modulus. If it is greater than the bearing modulus, that means we are working under the fully hydrodynamic lubrication condition, and there will be no metal to metal contact, and there is no chance of failure of bearing. But if your bearing is working under the condition where the Zn by P operating is less than the bearing modulus, there may be, that means the bearing is working under the partial lubrication condition. That means there may be a chances of metal to metal contact, and bearing may get fail. So in that case, we have to change our design, either by changing the oil, we will go for the better viscosity oil so that the bearing characteristic number improve, or by changing the L by D ratio or increasing the L by D ratio. If we increase the L by D ratio, what will happen? The pressure will be reduced, and this pressure is reduced, what will happen? The bearing characteristic number will increase. So by doing some hit and trial method, we will reach to the position where the operating bearing characteristic number is greater than bearing modulus. We have to use step number 7 and 8 only when the application is known, because if the application is not known, we are not able to find out the bearing modulus. Either it will be given in the problem that the particular bearing modulus for the particular application is that much, then only we can find out that bearing is working in the hydrodynamic condition or partial hydrodynamic condition. Okay, If the application is not known, so not known, we do not have to carry out these step number 7 and 8. Then we will go to the step number 9. This is the, again, I have drawn a coefficient of friction versus Zn by P. This is the bearing modulus, and we always want to run our bearing above this value. So if we are on the right side of the point A, that means we are in the completely developed hydrodynamic lubrication, and if we are lying in below this point A, that means we are working in the partial lubrication condition. So we always want that our operating Zn by P should be greater than C. Then we will check bearing for the heat dissipation. For that, we will assume the clearance ratio. I have write down here C by D, that is the diameter clearance ratio. It is same as given in your data book, that is the radial clearance ratio, because here the C is difference between diameter of the bearing and diameter of the journal. And if we are talking about the radial clearance ratio, there we were taking difference between the radius of the bearing and the radius of the journal. So the C by D is same as the C by R. So if the application is known, we can again find out the C by D ratio from this table number 15.7, because C by R is given. So for the particular application, we will select the C by R, and this C by R is nothing but it is equal to C by D. So we can calculate the C by R from here, okay, or we will find out the C by R here. If again the application is not known, if application is not known, then for the calculation purpose, we always take C by D or C by R ratio as 0.001. That if you see this equation, this table, in most of the cases, the value of C by R is less than or equal to 0.001. So for the design calculation, if the application is not known, what we do, we take radial clearance or the diametral clearance is equal to 0.001. By knowing this radial clearance, we can easily find out the value of friction coefficient, and this friction coefficient value can be found out from two equations, that is Petrov equation or Mackey's equation. Petrov equation is used only when the load is less. If the load is on the moderate condition or the higher load, then we always use Mackey's condition. I suggest you to always use Mackey's condition irrespective to the load. You always use this Mackey's equation, and the Mackey's equation says the friction value is constant, some constant Ka, which is dependent upon the enclosure of the bearing. That if the bearing is full 360-degree bearing, that means the bearing is covering whole shaft, then it is called 360-degree bearing. And if there is a segment of a bearing, that means it 120-degree segment of the bearing is there on which the shaft is resting, then it is called partial bearing. So this K is dependent upon that either the bearing is partial bearing or full journal bearing. For the partial bearing, you have to put beta. If the pad angle is 120 degrees, we will write down 120 degree, will multiply by 141.33 by 120, we will have the value of your Ka. And if it is a 360-degree bearing, the Ka value is 0.195 into 10 to power 6. In general, in most of the cases, we have to take full journal bearing. Okay. So we can easily find out the value of friction by this equation, which is given in your data book on page number 353. On page number 353, this equation is given, which is 15.4, and this del F is nothing but it is constant, it is 0.002. So from here we can easily find out the value of coefficient of friction. By knowing the value of coefficient of friction, we can easily find out the heat generated, and that heat generated will be equal to the power lost in the friction. And how we can find out the power loss in the friction? By multiplying the power developed multiplied by coefficient of friction. So heat loss in the friction will be load, radial load into velocity of the journal. This velocity should be in meter per second. Okay, and by multiplying this product of radial load into velocity in meter per second by friction, coefficient of friction, we will able to find out the heat generated. Now once we have find out the heat generated, we are able that much of the heat will be existing on the surface of the bearing, and that heat should be removed. If this heat is accumulated over the bearing surface, what will happen? The lubricant will lose its lubricating property, and the oil film will get break, and there will be a metal to metal contact. So we have to find out the possible heat dissipation from the bearing surface, and the possible heat dissipation on the bearing surface is can be calculated from the equation number 15.11 C on page number 360, and it is equal to heat coefficient into projected area of the bearing, and the projected area of the bearing is L into D. We have multiplied by 10⁻⁶ because L and D are in mm, and Kp can be calculated from again from the this formula. Kp is equal to Tb minus Ta plus 18 whole square divided by small kp. This small kp is depend upon the condition of bearing. If the bearing is well ventilated, the small kp value is 0.273. If it is medium construction, it is existing in the still air, then the value of kp is higher. If values kp is, if we can see what well ventilated bearing, the small kp is less. That means if small kp is less, then kp will be more. So for well ventilated bearing, the heat transfer coefficient is higher, or for medium construction bearing, the heat coefficient is lower. This capital Kp can also be find out from figure number 15.7, okay, which is given in your brother book. Now the problem is how to calculate this dB minus dA. This dB minus dA is nothing but T0 minus Ta, where T0 is the operating temperature and Ta is the ambient temperature. This ambient temperature we generally take 27 degree if it is not given in the problem. So by knowing all the things, we can able to find out heat dissipation. Once we have find out the heat dissipation, we will compare the heat loss. So these equations are given on page number 360 and 361. Here is the equation of heat dissipation. Here is the equation of capital Kp. You can also find out the heat dissipation constant from this equation, this figure. Okay, and T0 minus Ta can be find out from here. Okay, but it is very rare that in the academics we have to use this graph. We can work out the problems with these formulas only. Okay, so don't bother. Now the next process, we have to check whether the heat dissipation is equal to heat generated or more than heat generated or less than the heat generated. If the heat dissipation is more than the heat generation or equal to the heat generation, then the bearing is safe. That means there will be no accumulation of heat at the surface of the bearing. But if it is heat dissipation is lesser than the heat generation, what will happen? We have to either redesign the bearing by changing the length of the bearing or by changing the oil, or we can provide a provision of artificial cooling by providing the water jacket to the bearing. or by pushing more oil, more lubricating oil, so that the lubricating oil can take off the heat and bearing will get do not heat up. Okay, sometimes it is also asked in the problem that how much lubricating oil is required for removing the heat generated. Okay, so heat generated can be calculated is equal to the uh, heat carrying capacity of the oil, and heat carrying capacity of the oil is the mass flow rate of the oil multiplied the specific heat value of the oil multiplied by the temperature difference at inlet and outlet of the oil, inlet and outlet from the bearing. This temperature difference between inlet and outlet of the bearing is given in the problem, or if it is not given, we can assume it as in between 30 degree to 60 degree. Okay, and the specific heat is generally uh, all the lubricating oil are in between 1840, that means 1840 to 21,100 joule kg per degree centigrade. So by from this formula we can able to find out the mass flow rate of the lubricating oil which is required to remove the heat generated. So that's all for the uh, design of a journal bearing. This design procedure does not mean that this is the only way, or in each and every problem we have to follow each and every step. We have to modify our process as per the uh, as per the given problem. And uh, in this process there may be some extra step will be come out, and there may be elimination of some steps. Okay, so with this procedure you can attempt, or you can able to solve almost all the design problem of the journal bearing. Thank you.